first outcomes from your democratic exercise. Why am I saying this to obviously a group of Jamaica Labour Party supporters? Well, for one, I know that when I speak at these events, I am speaking to a supportive audience. But my message is not only to this audience, I am speaking to all Jamaicans. I want to see a return to the days of politics where the people to whom I'm speaking in these rooms are not just supporters of the Jamaica Labour Party, but the average community member can come and sit and feel confident to join anything, to come and listen. Even members of the opposite party should be able to come and hear what their Prime Minister is saying. And we need to practice a politics to go back to those days when our politics is inclusive. And I have tried to run the Jamaica Labour Party in such a way, to organize it in such a way that we are an inclusive party. We are not exclusive. So if you are a member of the PNP, you can come. If you are no P, you are welcome. If you are a disgruntled Labourite, we still have you. And you know Labourites always have a place in their party. So we consider ourselves to be the coalition party, the big party, as your member of parliament like to use the term, the big tent party. We provide a space and a stage for all Jamaicans to feel comfortable. We don't assume that we have any title for Jamaica. What we say is that we have to work for every vote. There are some people who believe that they have a right to run Jamaica and somehow we are imposters. That's how they behave. Very, very arrogant. Even in our pursuit of a third, we don't believe that we have an automatic right. Even with the incredible list of performers, I don't usually quote polls because I have done and we are doing our own polls, so we don't rely on outside polls. However, there's an interest, so we don't rely on outside polls. However, there's an interesting figure which is saying that a third Jamaicans can't point to anything. Impact of the Jamaica Labour Party policy. And those who don't see it are those who essentially refuse to acknowledge. And I tell you why. I happened to overhear a conversation with a young person and someone asking them about the reduction in. And the view was, yeah, murder's gone down, yeah, but then the police do it. And I reflected on it, so that person would be in the 1/3 who would be very reluctant to give the government credit. Yes, it is the police and the military and MOCA and customs who form what we call our law enforcement that is considered the tip of the spear. So you know a spear, it has a tip and it has a shaft. You try and do much damage with just the tip. It needs the shaft. So they always have the tip of the spear, they always have the power of arrest. You know, they have some amount of vehicles, they can do investigations. But without the full force of the government resources behind it, that tip of the spear will be ineffective. So we empower them. We spent over $90 billion in the last 9 years on national security. When you look at our police, they have a brand new kit, different uniform, full gears. You look at the leadership, fantastic leadership. When you look at the number of police, the first time ever that we have had our police force at its establishment of 14,000. We move it from somewhere about 9,000-10,000 to 14,000. We refleeted the police force, give them an entirely new fleet of cars and motorbikes. We fix up a whole heap of police stations for them. We pay them more. So now our police is now an effective tip. They have a good shaft on which to be seated. So when they launch out with the great support of the resources of the taxpayers of Jamaica and the government policies that support them. So yes, we congratulate our security forces, but we at the same time explain to the people that it is the policies of the government that has made the crime fighting effort effective. So it is plain that this is an area in which your government has had tremendous success. But I want to put that in another perspective. The reduction in murders and other major crimes is good. But what is the ultimate objective? The ultimate objective is to make Jamaica a peaceful country. The ultimate objective is to ensure that all of you can feel that you can go anywhere in your country, leave your windows and doors open, and nobody going to trouble you. The ultimate objective is to ensure that if you're a woman in the country, you don't have to fear domestic abuse. And there are some men too who are victims of domestic abuse. Ultimately, we want to make sure that if a conflict arises in your community, that it does not become a conflict where violence is used to resolve it. Ultimately, we want all Jamaicans to embrace peace. That is what we want. And there is great dividends to be gained, great profit for you personally to be gained when our country is peaceful. I want you to consider, you know how much money people spend on burglar bar and camera and security? Whole heap of money. Can you imagine if that were spent on something else? But I also want you to consider that one of the biggest reasons why Jamaica has not done even better in tourism is because of this perception of violence. We have actually done a study of Brand Jamaica, and we asked people, would you come to live in Jamaica, do business in Jamaica, study in Jamaica? And we compare Jamaica with 3 other countries that we consider our peers. And in all of those studies, except for when you come to vacation in Jamaica, we underperform relative to other countries. That means that violence has reduced the level of visitorship that we could have in our country. And I want you to appreciate that right now we are at about 4 million visitors. We could easily be at 5 million, 6 million, 7 million visitors. As countries like the Bahamas and the Dominican Republic. Once we solve this issue of crime and violence and we reclaim Jamaica as a peaceful country in the minds of people in the world, we will start to have people coming not only to enjoy our beaches in all-inclusives, but they will come to enjoy your community. Community tourism is a big thing, and it can take off in communities like these. But more than that, the more visitors you have, the more agricultural products are needed, the more craft products are needed, the more people are needed to work and serve in the hotels. In other words, our tourism industry could grow by 10, 12, 14, even 20%, which would have a positive impact for you. And that is why the government is making this massive investment in peace. Because once we reclaim the brand of being peaceful, Jamaica, no problem, man. Jamaica, peaceful place, easy. Then you will start to see greater dividends being paid. And so I want you to appreciate that your government is being very strategic in getting our country to peace. I also want to say to you, before I close, that we have also invested heavily in securing your water and your roads. We have done our surveys, and we have done our research, and you have told me directly that you don't really want much from the government. What you want is for your road to be fixed and water in your shower. And your government understands this. And your government has been doing that. But it's important that you understand that not having water for the last 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, one community I went to just today, the lady whispered and told me that she's 57 years old, she lived in the community all her life and she never had water there. But she wants her water. No! So I said to her, you do understand that I am not to be blamed for you not having water, but I am responsible. I am the government now to get you the water. How do we get to accountability, and how do we get to the point where your vote means something? It is to say to the politician, tell me what the plans are. Let me see if these plans are reasonable. And I will therefore on that cast my vote in the best possible way, make the best choice as to who has the better plan and the better track record of delivering the things that I want. Who is best to turn my desires, my dreams, my wishes, my ambitions, my aspirations into reality? Who is best? So you have to therefore look not just on the plan, the promise, but you also have to look on the track record and the achievements. I can say without fear of contradiction that this government is the only government in the history of Jamaica that can face the people on a platform of achievements. The only one. There are people who are reluctant to admit it. There are partisan people who will try to spin it in all kinds of ways. But no one can question that an intractable problem of murders and serious crimes has been cut, not by 1 year or 2 years, for 3 consecutive years. This government has reduced murders and serious crimes, putting us firmly on the pathway to peace. In 2023, we reduced the murder rate by 7.5%, almost 8%. In 2024, we reduced the murder rate by 19.8%, almost 20%. And in 2025, we are now 44% down, half of the year almost now. We have put the country on a solid trajectory. All who don't want to admit that is bad mind. Profoundly change the life of the country. And if we continue on this path, it's a new Jamaica that will emerge. In 2016, we took over the country with the debt at approximately 130% of GDP. Now that sounds big. What do I mean? The GDP is where you take all of your production for the year. Everything you produce, everything you produce, everything you produce. And you add it up. And you call that the gross domestic product. And if you take everything you produce for the year and sell it and say, all right, we're going to pay off the debt, we still have 30% of the debt left. Today, if we take everything you produce and say we're going to pay off the debt is now 68% of the GDP. So we can pay off the debt, and what we will have is 32% of what we produce left. So we still have something where we create left before we would have owe people. Now you tell me, is that a totally different Jamaica today than 10 years ago? And if people don't want to acknowledge that again, it's just bad mind and mean-spiritedness. There was a time when every year budget to be read, people shaking. Yes. Between 2011 and 2015, $34 billion of taxes were taken out of the pockets of Jamaicans. When last you hear about any new tax being added? We presented 10 budgets with no net new taxes. Now that's a totally different Jamaica than the Jamaica that existed prior to 2016. There is no question that we have improved the economy, and there is more to come. We have also made the economy more resilient, and I want you to appreciate this word resilient. Before, when the economy experienced a shock, let me explain that to you now, a shock. How many of you experienced Gilbert? Can you imagine? 1980, 89? 88. Yes, Gilbert. You remember how that just mashed up the economy? It took us how long to recover? Long to recover. How many of you remember FinSAP? Take us long to recover. How many of you remember the last global recession in 2008? Remember that? And all of those things took us years to recover. The last recession in 2008 took us 10 years to gain back the GDP that we had lost. Now, we had a big shock the other day. Yes. And none of them remember it. Which shock is that? COVID. That licked down everybody. Jamaica was able to recover in 3 years or less. But not just that. During COVID, not one civil servant, not one public servant lost their jobs. If you go on the internet now and look for other developed countries, how many people in the public service lost their jobs or were put on furlough? That never happened in Jamaica. Nobody paid was cut in Jamaica. We took up $49 billion and we supported people. We gave them a care program that has never happened in the history of Jamaica. We introduced for the first time in Jamaica a tax credit. We call it the reverse tax credit, where if you earn under a certain amount of money, the government actually gave you back $20,000 into your account. And I know some of you here would have benefited from that reverse tax credit. Over 400,000 people would have benefited. That never happened before in Jamaica. Different Jamaica now than 10 years ago. All of those profound things changed Jamaica. But there are some people who say, Chuck, that is the macro economy, that's the big economy. But my household economy still a struggle. And I'm at pains to point out to them. Alright? That might be so. But you have to give God thanks for the small mercies. Minimum wage increase from 6,000 to how much it is now, Bobby? 16,000. Give God thanks for small mercies. Unemployment was 13+% in 2016. Now it is 3.5%. If you're not working, you're not looking hard enough. Or maybe you don't have the skill that the market is wanting, and therefore you should take advantage of HEART and the various programs you have to get the skills that the market wants so you can get employed. In 2021, I believe they had said, or 2021, they said the absolute poverty rate was 16%. Meaning that 16% of adult Jamaicans live below poverty line. Poverty line is $100. Now, only 8% of Jamaicans live at or below the poverty line. Poverty has been cut in half. Yes, so households are benefiting. Is it perfect? Are we saying we achieved everything? No, but we have achieved more of the critical, profound things that have been almost intractable and impossible in the lives of Jamaica. Some of you never believe that murders could be by 44%. Some of you never believe that about 3.2%. Some of you never believe that there could be a government that could present budgets without new taxes. Some of you never believe that poverty could be cut in half. Some of you never believe that the debt is 68% and going down. But it has happened. We must focus and use the dividends of those major achievements to make your local economy and your household economy, of which you are the Minister of Finance, realize these dreams that you have. And we are allocating $10 billion this year for water. And right here in your constituency, your MP took me around and showed me, and we made the various announcements, groundbreaking, handing over of various water projects, that 5 water projects of $500 million that will change the lives of several communities. In addition to those that I have done already, I remember Mason Hall and others, plus several projects to improve housing and community renewal, several road projects. So this view that is being touted about nutten and gwaan is false. A lot is going on. But what we know in our system is that the people who get, now tell.
True.
And it is the people who don't get that ball. And the people who don't get that ball, they are the ones who may create this view that nothing is happening. While the people who have benefited just remain quiet, not realizing that if they don't speak up and balance the narrative, that not just only that, they put at risk the government that made it possible for them in the first place. So I go back to my original point. Vote for what you have gotten. Vote for what you want. Don't leave up the decision only to persons who vote on discontent, or who vote on emotion, who vote illogically and irrationally. All Jamaicans should use their vote wisely, logically, rationally, examine, ask questions, come out and listen, participate. It's not only about driving in the motorcade and waving the flag and jumping up. All of that is nice. But you must be empowered and enabled citizens who can take back the information into your communities, who can stand up and contradict the falsehoods that is out there. There is a saying by a Greek philosopher. Somebody sent it to me and I want to share it with you. I just found it as I close my presentation here, and I want you to remember it. When the debate is lost, slander becomes the tool of the loser. When the debate is lost, slander becomes the tool of the loser. When they don't have anything to say, when they can't challenge your achievements, when they can't question your plans, they don't bother tackle those. They go to slander. Slander is salacious, juicy, and a lot of people just run and listen to it. Don't stop and think. So I say to you, the workers of the party, the people who support the party, and I'm speaking now to the well-thinking Jamaicans. We have not lost the debate. We are the winners of the debate of performance and achievement. We will not engage in a negative campaign. We will be positive always. But we must be assertive, not arrogant. We must stand up and be counted. We must not hide our light under a bushel. We must take our candle and go forth and light the world with knowledge and information. Ensure that the people have sight, the people have a vision to choose Jamaica and choose the Jamaica Labour Party. God bless you.